What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York. It has been quite a minute. We are back on my rooftop, and today we are here with John Lamacchia. It's
Hey,
great to have
buddy.
you here, man.
I'm so happy to be here with you, my friend. It is such a great thing to come and talk to you again and chat about what I got going on, maybe a little bit about what you got going on, too.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. This interview's about you, man.
All right. Thank you.
But yeah, it's great to have you here. You were the first bit of content Heavy New York ever had back when I was called a SoundCloud journalist. So
Proud of that.
yeah, SoundCloud journalist. But it's so awesome to have you here. A lot has happened since I last interviewed you, I think for everybody, actually. But this new Thunderheads album is absolutely beautiful. I
Thank you.
really want to know, like, what the thought process was behind going into this. After years of aggression and, intensity with Candiria, how did this idea sort of come to be?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I've always written music like this in a way. I've always had some kind of music project that was more based on songwriting than it was based on, technical ability. Just more about capturing the soul and spirit of a song, I guess. But this album in particular was really, I don't know, the thing that brought it on was I guess the pandemic made me feel like, you know what, I have nothing to lose now. I'm going to write something straight from the soul because the whole world we could all be dead tomorrow. That's kind of like how we were all thinking, right? I wasn't the only one. And then I just started writing about some personal stuff I was going through, how I felt at the time, and there you have it.
Because being that you've always been into the singer-songwriting stuff, but, playing with Candiria for 20 years at this point, did maybe, any of that intensity or maybe any of that skill set you learned from there help make this idea kind of come even greater?
It's funny you say that because I did. I actually really did pull a lot from the process of making an album, the thought process of putting together an album, and how we like would intentionally make moves sonically to create power or create breaks so that the powerful moments were even more powerful. You know what I mean? Sort of like the way we would produce an album. I took some of that same approach and applied it to this album. I wanted the experience to be similar to listening to a Candiria album, but just sonically different.
Yeah, and visually different, too. I don't have to, it felt great being able to watch you play at Union Pool and not worry about losing my teeth. So
I appreciate that. But then again, these days, people are moshing at Taylor Swift concerts, so things are getting interesting.
yeah, and I probably just jinxed it now. I'm going to watch my ass on the June 23rd show at Vitus.
Oh yeah. Well, you never know what's going to happen. Sure enough. I used to mosh at every show I ever went to just because I was like, okay, this is what I do. So, yeah, watch yourself.
Yeah, and the most aggressive pit will be like during the slowest ballad.
I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing shocks me anymore, honestly. It really doesn't.
Yeah, right. What we've seen in music lately, I would not be surprised.
True, man. And in the world.
Yep. Definitely.
For good and for better and worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there a preconceived idea of what you wanted Thunderhead to sort of sound like, or was there a lot of, being that this was a solo endeavor, I'd imagine the sky was the limit. There was maybe like a lot of improvising and experimentation involved.
There definitely was that. I did have a specific palette in mind. I did want there to be this spectrum, so to speak. And basically it's like rock music, your basic like guitars, bass, drums, vocals, to more acoustic stuff, to electronic music. That was the sort of the palette, that I was working with. But really it was, I think, the thing that made it all kind of come together and work really, really well. Besides my songwriting style and the sounds themselves, was Mario Quintero, who from Spotlights, who mixed the album and mastered the whole album and mixed most of the album. But he really was able to take all of those sounds and somehow make all the songs really sound cohesive. So I have to give a lot of credit to him and thank him for working so hard to make it sound great.
Definitely. Huge shout out to Mario from
Mario!
Spotlights.
I love that guy.
Definitely. One talented SOB and one hell of a collaboration.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to have worked with him, and I definitely see it being like the type of thing, when like like bands work with like a producer and then just move away. I want to kind of keep the vibe of each album similar. So I think working with Mario again, if he would have me, would be like kind of where my mind is already at.
I call him the New York Butch Vig.
It's a great comparison, actually. It really is.
Thank you. You mentioned that this was a very personal album. Did you kind of want the listener, when they hear Thunderheads, to kind of like to see things from your point of view, or do you think that this album could be a little bit more open to interpretation?
I definitely do feel. I did feel like when I wrote this record, obviously I was writing for me. This was a very cathartic, therapeutic process, and I really needed to write. I really needed to write these songs. It was like my therapy, honestly. But when I was done, and I was at a point where we were mixing it, and I was making the artwork, my hope was that people that had gone through similar experiences, lost people, lost family members, lost, went through like the type of like relationship loss, that I went through. I was hoping that it could be therapeutic for other people as well. And from the responses I've been getting and the messages I've been getting from people, it seems to really be the thing where, like, I guess people are really like responding to it in that way, where they're like, man, I really felt these songs, and I really like, the lyrics really spoke to me, the melodies really spoke to me. So I'm grateful that people are responding to it in that way.
And did you always need to hear the music before you came up with the lyrics, or did maybe like the story or the idea maybe dictate the direction of the sound?
That's an interesting question, man. I would say most of the time it's the music first, and then maybe a melody idea in my head about how the vocal's supposed to go. But then the lyrics will be some random gibberish. And then I'll just use that gibberish and create some type of flow lyrically. And then I'll build my lyrics around that. And I actually, if I'm being totally honest, stole that from Greg Puciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan. Well, Black Queen, Greg Puciato, all the stuff he does. Years ago when I worked with him as a songwriter, he was the first person, I think, to see just blurred out sound. And just, I know it's not only him that has done that in the past, but it was my first experience. And he would just make sounds, and it would kind of then dictate sort of the lyrical, sort of the way the lyrics developed. And it was something that I still use to this day. So.
And that's a great individual to learn from. And,
oh, sure.
And to go from Dillinger Escape Plan to the Black Queen and everything he's collaborated with in the past, that's definitely a versatile vocalist.
Oh, hell yeah. He's super talented.
Yeah. And when it comes to seeing you live now, bringing in Mikey, who you've played with in Candiria, and Andrea, who's played with Vereen, and, so many other talented musicians, do you think that adds more to the palette as well for the sound?
Sure, it does, actually. I honestly, I'm so grateful for the amount of passion and the I guess not loyalty, but the dedication, I would say, to this project. Even though it's a solo project, and I've worked with Mike MacGyver for so many years on, like, straight up collaborations, full on. These are like 50-50. Everybody's just putting in the same amount. And for me to do this, and for him to be so passionate and have my back, is just a really amazing thing. I'm so grateful, and I feel really blessed. Andrea is always adding her own spirit and soul and style. And when we perform live, there's these different things that are happening that maybe people don't realize yet because the album is so new, but I'm so happy that she's just like stepping into the fold as a guitar player and just like really taking on these songs as her own and just adding her own style, like she plays in Voreen, which I absolutely fucking love.
Yeah.
She's so talented. And then Jeff from the Twin and Savak, I'm so happy to have him playing live now. I mean, he's such an incredible drummer, so I feel really fortunate.
Yeah, I know it's a solo project, but when it is live, it's a super group.
Oh, sure, man. I mean, I'm really, really blessed. And then even Candace getting up to perform here and there. It's just been a great experience, and I just look forward to doing more. And I'm looking forward to playing Vitus on the 23rd. I really am.
I am looking forward to seeing that show as well. That's going to be a beautiful venue, and our mutual friends own that venue, so that's just going to be a night of friendship there.
I'm so looking forward to it, man. I really am.
Definitely. And I have a few more questions for you, but going back to the personal element of this album, did you almost feel like maybe, because I mean, when I've listened to Candiria, I mean, What Doesn't Kill You was clearly a personal experience,
That's
but
right.
do you think that, like, beyond a reasonable doubt, a process of self-development, or even while they were sleeping, that maybe that was more of like an external form of expression, you would say, as opposed to this?
I think it all comes from a similar place. It all comes from the soul, it all comes from the heart. But the way it translates musically is different because the approach to writing, say, a Candiria song is so much more technical than writing, for like Lamacchia or even Spilacopa for that matter, where you're not so focused on writing this technical composition, and that technical composition will dictate lyrical content, lyrical approach, lyrical flow for Carly. So although I do feel it comes from the heart and the soul, the style and the vibe and the feeling it gives you, it just almost it does become more external. It does become something that like is more the outside forces of the world influence the way you write.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the final question I wanted to ask you, and I think maybe we definitely talked about this during the first interview I've ever done with you, and I'm really hoping that the wind doesn't blow my camera over in a second. It's windy up here, everybody. But, like I've talked with you about this extensively, but, it's fair to say New York, has gone through a lot in the last 2 years alone. And, I still think that the scene is running strong and everything like that. Can you almost see the scene sort of developing a lot more? Where do you see the scene sort of going in a post-COVID world?
Oh, that's a tough one, man, because, in a way, I'm like, I exist in my little microcosm, my little community, you know what I mean? And I think in that regard, my circles, like, they kind of like circle outward. And there's all these other people involved in my scene, but there's so many other little micro universes and different scenes, and like every week I hear of a new venue opening up that I'm like, why the hell is this like the most coolest place in the world, and I've never even been there, like TVI or Trans Picos or like I mean, God, the Brooklyn Monarch. I can't even keep up.
The Meadows was just open next door.
The Broadway, I cannot keep up. I'm still like Vitus and like Lucky 13 Saloon or like, Union Pool. Like I feel like in that regard, I feel like I need to definitely branch out because I don't know. Like the fact that I don't know or I can't see where the scene is going in the future, like the underground music scene in New York, I can't see it. Kind of frightens me a bit because I'm like, I gotta step up my game.
That makes me excited. The fact that you, who has played from everywhere from CBGB's to L'Amour's to every present venue, the fact that you are now shocked on how much is happening,
It's crazy.
says a lot. There's no excuse for anybody to be like, wow, I don't know what's happening. What shows are happening? I'm like, walk out your door and you'll find out.
I know. I think on the flip side of that, though, is I think every single hardworking musician and artist feels exactly the same way, because that's the beauty of this city. That's the greatest thing about this place is that it's constantly changing. It is constantly just changing. I mean, every block there's a building going up. There's a new venue going. Like I said, there's a venue going up in Brooklyn. Other parts of Brooklyn are like blowing up, and like other things are happening. It's just like you can't keep up with it, and it's always been that way. And I think that's what makes this place so incredible is that you're always chasing it. You're always chasing its tail. It's kind of amazing in that regard.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect way to describe it. You're always chasing, and this city is always moving. Yep. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. Always great to catch up with you. Again, Thunderhead is just magical. And
Thank you.
I'm so glad that the rest of the world is able to hear it. And if you haven't heard it live yet, get your ass out to St. Vitus on June 23rd.
Thank you.
Is there just anything else that you would like to promote with this? Can you maybe see yourself taking this on the road anytime soon, or anything you want to promote with? Because I could have sworn I heard you say that there was some songs that were intended to be Spilacopa albums. So what does the future hold with that as well? And
Okay, well, first off, I mean, we do plan on hitting the road. We have some dates in August coming up. We have dates. Actually, we're looking at dates in early August that are pretty much set. We're booking another run in the end of August. Then we're booking a run. I'm booking a run in late September to early October. I won't give too much information yet because none of it's solidified. I'm also going to be doing something in July. I haven't figured it out yet, but I want to do something really really kind of intimate and maybe a bookstore or a record store, because Thunderheads not only came out on vinyl and CD, but there's also a book that came out, and I'm really excited for people to read the book and go through it, because within the book there's all these cue codes that lead you to bonus material, music videos that aren't out in the world. You can only see this stuff and hear this stuff or experience this material if you buy the book. So it's kind of crazy, because the book was supposed to come out when the release date came out, which was May 20th, but then the vinyl got shipped early, and that triggered this whole like fucking whirlwind of like decision making.
I wouldn't complain about that, because I've heard more stories of
I know.
vinyl showing up late.
I know, it's crazy. But that kind of changed everything. So we had to like reconsider how we were going to do this. And then, so finishing the book got put on hold because we wanted to make sure that people got the record on time. And then we decided to put a little bit more time into the book, make it super awesome, and then send it out when we were going to ship the vinyl. So if you bought a book and you're waiting for it, it's coming very soon. Just please be patient. We wanted to make it super amazing. We added a bunch more stuff to it. We added a bunch more.
I knew that was going to happen at some point.
That's okay.
I've probably been out of the frame like the last 5 minutes.
Oh my God, it's so cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you bought a book, thank you. And it's coming soon. We're just putting the finishing touches on it. It'll be printed, and the turnaround time will be pretty short. It should be shipping this month, and I appreciate it so much. You won't regret it. The book is pretty much, to me, the book is the sort of the big picture of what the album is all about. What I experienced with me and Candace went through during the making of this album. A lot of that has to do with like the making of the record, and I hope people start to catch on, to what this record is about after experiencing the book.
Yeah, and that's how I describe Thunderheads. It's like it's a visual experience.
Mhm.
It's there's a visual aspect, a sonic aspect. I think that this is going to be an album for all the senses.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
And can you see yourself maybe doing more of this? Like this isn't going to be the first taste of Lamacchia solo.
Oh,
work,
no,
right?
this is it, man. I mean, I'm pretty much, this is it. I don't really have any interest in doing anything else. I will do other stuff. I have so much Spylocopa material that's just sitting there waiting to be put out into the world. But this is my main focus. This is what I will be doing. Everything will come through Lamacchia from now on.
Hell yeah. Look
Yeah.
forward to hearing more. Everybody.
Thank you.
John Lamacchia. Be sure to check out Thunderheads if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time. We will be back. We are coming back. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.